Okay. All right, guys, with Ryan Arciero. Am I saying it right?
You are. That's it.
All right. What is your official title with Formula Lights?
I'm one of the co-owners of the Formula Light series with Dennis McCormick.
All right. So, there you go. There's your introduction, everybody. He did it himself. Formula Lights. How did the idea come about?
This is something that Dennis and I have been working on back in 2008. So this is not something we just dreamed up yesterday and decided, let's give this a whirl and see what happens here in the United States. Something we've been looking at for quite some time and putting the pieces of the puzzle together for quite some time. And for us, we saw a need here in the U.S. For two things. One, a series that had more technical advances in a ladder series than what was available here in the U.S. Most of what you see in the U.S., and I'll leave the new Indy Lights car to the side for right now. Most of what you see in the U.S. is very old technology, leading all the way through up the ladder. Most of it's tube chassis design. It's 30 plus year old design cars. Even though they're still building them to today standards, they're still 30 plus year old design cars. Some of the carbon cars that are in the ladder series right now are old, they're 10 to 12 year old design carbon cars. So there's nothing of the latest technology that's out there that gives these drivers what they need, I feel, to take themselves to the ultimate step where they want to go, whether that's in IndyCar racing here in the U.S., whether that's Formula One in Europe, or whether you want to go to the upper echelons of sports car racing. A lot of open wheel guys have gone, from the ladder series to sports car racing as well. So what we've seen, we saw this gap in the U.S. that this didn't exist, and most importantly too, not that just this didn't exist, but for a price point that makes sense in the U.S. Everything's escalating, and it's a shame that in the way it's been with motorsports, that your pocketbook kind of rules what you get to do in motorsports, which is so you have a lot of drivers that really get overlooked or never make it anywhere because they don't have that money in their pocketbook. They don't have those sponsors attached to them, and it's a shame to see because it's not like a lot of other stick and ball sports we might see in the U.S. or around the world where talent will truly get you and rise you to the top. Unfortunately, that's not always the case in motorsport. So, granted, given everything is relatively expensive anyways in motorsports, like what can we do to build the latest technology car at a price point that makes sense to buy, to maintain and run during the course of the season? Mm-hmm. And we have a great partnership with Crawford Composites back in Denver, North Carolina, and Crawford's the car manufacturer of the FL15. And when Dennis and I sat down with Max Crawford and talked about what our thought was on this, Max had a long-time desire to build an open-wheel car. And so he was head over heels behind what we wanted to do. So we put together a wish list. So what do we want this car to look like? What do we want to accomplish? And usually you put a wish list together, and you end up at the end of the day having to take a lot of things out because they can't meet a price point. Like, oh, we got to get rid of that because that's too expensive. You got to get rid of this. But I tell you what, 90% of what we envision this car to be, Max was able to make work, and at a price point at $120,900, so $121,000 respectively, for a turnkey car. Latest FIA F3 spec car, all carbon. You have paddle shift, which didn't exist in ladder series until you had the new Indy Lights car came out. Just a cool looking car. Everything you need and want as a driver to get you to the next step at a price point that is more affordable.
All right, that took like 4 of the next.
I don't want on that one, but yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
You're making my life easier, man. Thanks. You talk about the other series on older chassis, and you want to go with something new. Are you saying that also that eventually this chassis is going to be an older chassis also?
It will be, and it's inevitable. So what we need to do as we start moving forward is find the right updates to make this car viable, and then down the road is look at what the next step is. Because you're right, it will be, and no matter what you do, whether it's an IndyCar, Indy Lights car, or a Formula 2000, whatever it may be, it's eventually going to get outdated. So you got to figure out what that next step is. And once again, always for us keeping cost at the forefront of what that is, and because we want to be sensitive to the teams and the drivers when it comes to purchasing these cars and actually running these cars.
All right. You had your first season. You're just finished.
Yep.
So looking back at it, are you happy? Is it a success? Do you call it a success, or you wish you'd done things differently?
You always, no matter what you do when you do something brand new, you always look back and, hindsight's always 2020. It's like, oh man, okay, we should have done this, or maybe we should have done that. But I tell you what, for the most part, all the hard work that Dennis and I put in since 2008, to see it come to fruition, and we actually see cars in a racetrack for the first time this year, it gave us goosebumps. We actually accomplished something, and we accomplished what we set out to do. And not a lot of people, when we said we were going to do this, you're going to have the naysayers. Oh, this is never going to happen. These guys are smoking. You know what? And it's not. It's not going to happen. Well, we came up with an idea, and they said they're never going to build a car. Built a car, and they said, they'll never see a racetrack. Plenty of testing. Saw a racetrack. They're never going to have their first race. Boom. Thompson Speedway, first race of the season, we have our race. They're never going to make it through the first year. We went through all of 2015, and to me, I think it was a huge success. For us, there's a lot of things that we need to build on for the future, and that's stuff that we're working on now, with some new exciting announcements coming up. And just to make things, you got, when you start something new, you got to start from somewhere. You can't, it's not like we have millions and millions and millions of dollars pumped into what we're doing, and sky's the limit on how we spend money and how we do things. So we got to be strategic, and we got to do things right for our teams and for our partners. And I tell you what, we're super excited about 2016.
Well, you mentioned Thompson Speedway. You've raced at Houston, tracks like that. Not the most famous tracks on the American psyche, none of the big name tracks. Was that a conscious decision, or it was just that's what you had to do because you're starting out?
Tony, actually, that's a great question. I'm actually glad you asked that, because it's true. A lot of people look back on it like, well, why are these guys at Thompson? Why are they at these smaller racetracks like you mentioned? Well, there's a method to the madness, and for us coming out in year one, it was very hard to attach us to any other series that was out there. One, they already had their schedules done. They already had their other partners done. So we had to find what was available out there that would work best for us, knowing that's only a year one option, meaning that this is going to be our first year, our first rollout. We got to do what we need to do to get the cars on track and actually hold events. All of our teams that were involved in our series realize that. Now for us moving forward into 2016, we have a first year under our belts. Now the goal for us, and we're getting closer to announcing our schedule for 2016, is to be at venues that make more sense to us. The bigger venues, the ones that have a lot of people at racetrack, are being attached to great series, and we're working through that right now. But to answer your question, there was a method to the madness, and it had to happen the way it did last year because of that. The second part of that is that we needed to be sensitive to the teams once again on costs. They just spent the money to buy these cars and to buy their spare parts and to test. And the last thing we wanted to do is put them, and I'll make this up is say, okay, we're going to the Toyota Grand Prix Long Beach. That would have come with a big price tag. Price tag for us to be involved, and big price tag for our teams to be involved. And we could not do that to our teams out of the gate. We needed to be sensitive to that, and we will always be sensitive to our teams and what we're asking them to spend when it comes to competing in our series.
Also, I would say, just as if this is supposed to be a series to develop new drivers and get people in the sport, when you attach yourself to a bigger series, your track time is extremely limited.
That's another great point. And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of these drivers are like, I want to be at Pirelli World Challenge weekends, or I want to be, at an IndyCar weekend. Well, that's fine and dandy, but just like you said, now your track time goes to nothing. Those kids and those young drivers need that track time. They need that time out there. But the reality is they're not going to get it. And that's one thing that we're sensitive as well as we move into 2016.
All right. You mentioned 2016, some surprises, some new stuff. What are they? Come on. Nobody's paying attention. Just me and you. Don't worry. No, this internet thing will not catch on. Don't worry.
No kid. Nobody's ever going to be watching this. 2016 schedule. Dennis and I are very, very close, and we're hoping to have some announcements here right around SEMA for that. We have a big announcement with Honda at PRI coming up in December, if I'm thinking straight here. And that's going to involve, obviously I mentioned the word Honda, but that's going to involve something that we're going to be doing with the power plants and with the Formula Lights car. We're very excited about that, and I think our teams and our potential new teams and new drivers will be excited as well. So that's going to be coming up. So I kind of dropped a little bit of a hit with that for PRI. So we're excited about that. We got some new partners coming on as well. So the series in itself, we have new teams buying cars right now. So everything's flourishing with Formula Lights. It's hard because once you finish a season, Tony, it's like everything kind of has a little bit of a lull, and we're in a lull right now, just in motorsports in general at this time of the year. So for us, we're working on what that excitement's going to be for 2016. So so good things are happening. We're super pumped up and super excited.
We talked earlier about the other series, the whole thing. They've associated themselves with Indy, the whole Road to Indy thing. Now you have, you came out with this series that a lot of people, not naysayers, it's not going to happen. Bam, you guys did good. Yeah, great. Starting a new series is next to impossible. I know that. Now all of a sudden, a couple of weeks ago, you hear that F4, that FIA thing, and you're smiling. and I'm putting this all in my head together, and it's also being powered by Honda.
Yep.
Yeah, and you're smiling a lot.
you also know that they have the tires on there are Pirelli.
Right.
As well. So yeah, Dennis and I have known what's been going on with the F4 thing before it even came online. So we've been involved in a lot of the talks that they've had with F4, and a lot of people say, well, is this going to hurt Formula Lights? How does this work? Do we need another open wheel series here in the U.S.? And it's neat to see that the FIA is having such a big involvement in what we want to do here in the U.S. and as far as open wheel goes. So that's great. For us, we welcome it. We welcome it with open arms. It's going to be, obviously Crawford got the contract to do the chassis for Formula 4, and so it'll be loosely based on what the Formula Lights car is, and which is great, and it'll be a lesser version of the Formula Lights car, a lot less expensive than a Formula Lights car, which, like I said, for at 120,900, it's not really very expensive for an open wheel car and what you get. Right. So, but there's going to be a lot of carbon aspects of the Formula Lights car that get changed to either fiberglass or aluminum for the Formula 4 car. So a lot less expensive to buy. It's going to be on par probably what it takes to run that series compared to ours as well. But we're also looking at combining the two series together as far as the same weekends. So we're working through that right now and running in conjunction with each other. So it makes sense to Honda. You said you had mentioned Honda. For them, it's they're starting to put in line, their own kind of, I don't want to call it ladder system because they kind of hate using that word, but their own kind of system within the U.S. here for open wheel racing. The exciting part about it is you have kids coming from go-karts that can go to Formula 4 or Formula Lights and then make their next step to IndyCar or what have you, or even Indy Lights for that matter. What's great about it is you got Honda. It makes so much sense for their involvement in open wheel racing because Honda has a beginning to open wheel racing. That's first in go-karts. They actually have an involvement in go-karts. They have a motor that runs in go-karts. And what's great is Honda also has an end result in open wheel racing, and that's IndyCar. And where a lot of other manufacturers can't boast that. So you have a beginning and an end with this manufacturer, which is huge. And you got Formula Lights right in the middle of the mix of the whole thing. And Honda was one of the first partners to come on board with what we did. And this is before F4 even came online, and they were super excited about what it is we wanted to do, and it kind of fit in line with what the direction that they want to go. The Pirelli side is a completely different animal, which is great. Pirelli has had nothing in the United States when it came to open wheel racing, but obviously we know the power plant that they have in Europe, and that's Formula One. And so when we approached Pirelli about what we wanted to do here in the U.S., Dennis and I had a long-term relationship with them in another series we ran, and Pirelli had huge open arms. They're like this. First, they started laughing at us. And we're like, are you laughing at us because you're making fun of us? Or are you laughing at us because you're happy about this? And they're like, we're happy about this. This is great. This falls in line with what Europe wants us to do in the U.S. And that's try to find open wheel segments within the U.S. that makes sense. And I think the type of car that we have, the technology of this car, it complements both the Pirelli brand and it complements the Honda brand very well.
Yeah, you talked the whole Honda, the whole ladder going up. Which always, not the bash the other guys, always made me wonder what was the idea with the Mazda Road to Indy, where you go up the Mazda ladder to win a chance, and when you make it, you drive a Honda.
I know it doesn't make any sense to me at all. And I said, I'll be the last one to tell you that I want to bash anybody because I know how hard it is to run series and put stuff together. But at the same time, that's where we're very fortunate in the partners that we have and the position that we sit in. And Formula Lights isn't going anywhere. Formula Lights is going to grow, and Formula Lights is going to be a property here in the U.S. It's going to make a lot of sense for a lot of teams and drivers. And for us too, the other side of things that you don't see a lot of is on the marketing side when it comes to the drivers and teams themselves. And I don't mean to get off what we're talking about, but I really wanted to mention this. I think we've been able to give, just in year one with our series, is give our teams and our drivers tools that they need to help promote themselves. Mm-hmm. Our goal is to create little rock stars out of these drivers, so they have a personality and they have something they can take with them to the next level. So they're not, once they've gotten to the next level, they're not trying to invent themselves at that point. Right. And we've done some great videos that you can see on our Formula Lights YouTube page that really small segments but really show personality and really show some dynamic in what we're trying to do and really promote the teams and drivers themselves. That's important. That's what makes up our series. I'm a racer myself, and I know, when a series does that for you and gives you those tools to help sell what you're doing, I think it's phenomenal. If we're able to give you some tools that help sell sponsorship, which we know is difficult in any ladder series that you're in the world, let alone the upper echelons of racing, then that's what we're going to do, and we're going to grow upon that as well.
I sometimes I watch some interviews with drivers, and I've done media training myself, and I look at these people and I go, "Oh God, please somebody help this kid."
I know,
and you got to start young.
Yeah, you do, and the thing that drives me crazy, I tell you, is and I'll use Supercross as an example, motocross, is they'll do an interview and then they'll say, I like to thank this sponsor, this sponsor, this sponsor, this sponsor, this sponsor. Oh man, I've already fallen asleep by the time you've gotten through your list. There's no connection to anything at that point, and that's what I try to tell people: make a connection. If you're gonna thank Honda, talk about how cool their product is, or kind of mix it into how you're thanking them, and kind of build upon that.
Yeah, the Honda motor didn't let me down today. Stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Personalize it.
Yes, exactly. So I said, and we try to do that with our drivers, and we learned a lot throughout the years. And I said, this is not something that we just decided to do yesterday, and we thought long and hard about it. And I said, we're very, very excited about the future for the series.
All right. You mentioned the website. You're a young kid. He's in karting. He wants to move up. Now's his chance. How does he get in touch with you? How does he do that?
You can first start by going to www.formulalights.com, and that's Formula Lights with LITES.com. And
I'll have it up there. Don't worry.
Yeah, there's a section on the end that says own. You can either give us information about owning a car or just finding out more about the series itself, and realize we're going through a complete remodel on the website now. So for next year it'll be more of a series-based website, and which is very important to our teams and drivers and sponsors. So they'll see that change as well. And for us right now, we needed to have a website that was up and running to help sell the cars and help sell what we're doing. So that will change. But for the meantime, tell them to go to that website, and it'll send myself or Dennis a message directly. So you're not going to be talking to a slew of people. It's either myself or Dennis, and you'll get the answers you need. All
right, guys, we've been talking with Ryan Arciero, one of the head honchos, the big cheese over here at Formula Lights. It's a great series. Check out their videos. Those cars are cool. I like them a lot.
It looks like a little Formula One car, like the old, not the Formula One car today, but maybe a couple years ago. Right. It's just a cool car.
It is a cool car, and I'm dying to. Next year I'm going to try to hit up one of those races, see them in person.
You're more than welcome to come out. Just let me know.
All right. Thanks again.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Tony.